Good morning, hi, I'm Kristin Omdahl and welcome back to Create, Share, Inspire podcast. This is episode 296 and we're here live in Southwest Florida waiting on the sun to rise over the buildings and the trees to the east. This is the Gulf of Mexico behind me. If you're joining me live, please say hello and let me know what you're crafting on this morning. I am working on some tapestry crochet and we'll talk about that in a few minutes. It is really chilly here this morning. Good morning, Edna, Sherry, Mar, and Ava. The wind is whipping. I think it's 52 degrees out here. I am not dressed for it. I didn't realize how cold it was when I got dressed. Good morning, Grace and Thea. Thanks for joining live. Good morning, Karen. Hi, Christy. Hi, Judy. Hi, Lily. Hi, Margaret and Jane, Lynn, Joe. Thanks for joining live. Hi, Sonia and Connie. Yep, sun's almost out. Don't know how much it's going to warm up today. Hi, Christine. Hi, Melissa. Thanks for joining live. It's only 52 degrees out here and windy, so I don't know how much the sun's going to help, but it won't hurt. Hi, Constance. I'll talk about tapestry crochet in a minute, Ava. Hi, Jane. Thanks for joining live. So tapestry crochet is a type of crochet where you do color work by carrying all the colors of the yarn that you'll need at the same time, which means you don't have floats on the back like on other types of color work. And that goes for knitting and crochet, I suppose. A lot of times you'll see that one side has the beautiful color work and the other side has those strands of yarn that are floated across the back, and this technique is beautiful on both sides. How amazing is that? So I'm making a bag out of this. So I started with a circular base, started in the center down here, and this, would you believe, is the wrong side. This is the right side, but it is pretty much reversible, identical. In order to make this a bag, I will end up probably lining it though, so you won't be able to see both sides. But let's see, I'll fold it together now and you can see it's not quite long enough for a bag yet. But what we do is we start in the center and you work in, this one's done in double crochet. And I did one in double crochet first because I feel like this is a little bit easier to do than the single crochet version. The single crochet can get a little more complicated, which is awesome, and I really want to do that with you as well. But I thought in order to make this accessible and not very intimidating to beginners, since I noticed a lot of you have never done tapestry crochet before, I thought that the first pattern should be in 2 colors only and in double crochet so that it'll go quicker. Then the next pattern I'll do will be in more colors and in single crochet, and it'll be more complicated, but I think it'll be fun to have to work your way into more complicated so that it's not as intimidating. So if you see here, it's worked in double crochet. Yes, Ava, there'll be a tutorial. Pattern's not done yet. Let's see. Good morning, Vera. Good morning, Donna. So you're working in double crochet in the round. So just like if you were making a solid color hat or circular motif, you're going to work in, 2 double crochets in one stitch, then one in the next, and increase out just like normal. The only difference is that you'll be carrying 2 yarns and changing color. There are other tips and tricks to it as well, and I figured even though we're not doing a tutorial yet because the pattern's not done, can't do that till the pattern's done, but I could start showing you some of the tips and tricks because it's never too early to learn the tips and tricks. So a couple of things to begin with is that just like with any other color work, when you're changing colors in crochet, you always want to do the last step of the stitch before the color change in the new color. So I'm going to show you that on my next color change here. And then I'm going to show you some of my tips and tricks for not tangling yarn either, which, as you can imagine, is a big deal when you're changing color every couple of stitches. You could either have a gigantic massive knot going on, or you could have something that's very stress-free. So I'm going to show you my tips and tricks on that as well. So to start with, Oh, and by the way, I am using Be So Baby yarn, which is my new DK weight yarn in colors Orchid and Navy. Okay, so I'm getting ready to do the last stitch in my Orchid color section. So I'm going to do my double crochet, which is a yarn over your hook, insert your hook in the next stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2. Now to finish the stitch, we would do a second set of yarn over, pull through 2. But because the next stitch is going to be navy, we're going to drop our working yarn, pick up the new yarn, and finish that stitch in the new color. And notice it doesn't change the stitch. It just keeps our working yarn, the loop on our hook, ready for the next color. So then we'll do our next stitch in navy. We're doing 3 colors, 3 stitches in navy and 3 stitches in pink all the way across. So we'll do a double crochet in the second one, double crochet in the third stitch. So yarn over, insert your hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2, but I said 3 stitches, right? So the next stitch has to be orchid pink. So we're gonna drop our working yarn, pick up our next color, and finish that last step of that stitch in the new color. Then work our next color, our next stitch. Also, in order to carry all of our yarns as we're working and not see them on either side, right? We don't have a wrong side in the respect that we don't have any floats on the back. So how we're doing that is by working over the yarn we're not using. So right now we're using orchid. So you want to make sure that that second color is sitting right on top of your stitches so that you crochet around it. So this is our last color in this sequence. So we're doing that. We're working around it and dropping yarns and picking up the new one and finishing that stitch. So there are so many tips and tricks to this that I actually think it's better if I start showing you the tips and tricks before we even start the projects, so that it becomes a little bit familiar by the time you end up doing it. Yes, this will be a bag. Be way too big for a hat. Let's see, where did we go here? Yeah, so while we're working here, we're following a stitch pattern, or following a color sequence, which means there will be a chart. You'll have to follow a chart for the color work, and I'm debating whether or not I combine that aspect of the crochet stitch chart. I might combine it and make it one chart. I think that might be more efficient, but we'll see. And so you'll be following a stitch pattern, you'll be following a color sequence pattern, you'll be learning how to change color between stitches and how to work over the yarn you're not using at the same time. And on top of that, hopefully learning how to not tangle your yarn at the same time. So one of the things that I like to do when working in 2 colors, and this will be different when we do this in 3 colors, so hold off on asking that until we get there. Baby steps, right? So to work 2 colors, it's helpful to position each color in a different spot. So I've been doing this for years, Christy, that's why it looks easy. And it can be easy, so it's really important to just take your time, pay attention to my tips and tricks for sure, because without knowing some of the tips and tricks, it can definitely be overwhelming to do something like this if you've never done it before. But it doesn't have to be hard, and knowing tips and tricks will absolutely make it more fun, even as a beginner. So one of the things that I think is really important when working in 2 colors is to pick a spot for each color. So let me organize myself. I'm almost out of yarn on this one, so let me wind it into a ball real quick so I can get myself organized. It is always a good idea to stop and slow down to organize yourself. Anytime that the yarn looks like it's getting away from you, always a better idea to slow down and take care of it than let it turn into a bigger mess. Always. And no, I don't always follow my own advice, but that's okay. I try. So when you're doing two color, pick a spot for one color and another spot for another color. So what I mean is, so for example, I'm going to put navy to the front of my work, sitting next to my left hip, and for the orchid pink, I'm going to put it behind my work, which will be in front of my knee. Okay, so one's going to be to the front of the work by my body, and one's going to be away from the behind the work, which will be up in front of me. You won't be able to see that so much because of where the camera is. I could back it up. May not be able to see the comments as well, but I could back it up so you can watch the positioning of that for a minute, okay? Let me just get my yarn situated here, because this really is one of the important tips and tricks. Anything that can make your experience more pleasurable and less stressful is an important tip, right? So anything that can stop you from getting your yarn tangled is a big deal, don't you think? Because working with multiple colors, whether you're knitting or crocheting, working with multiple colors can go sideways and become stressful very quickly if you don't know how to stay organized. Okay. So now I'm going to back the camera up a little bit. Hopefully you can see my more of like the whole body. Let's see, is that going to work better? Okay, yeah, you don't need to see my face. Just see what's going on here. Okay, so what I'm going to do is put the orchid in front of me. Back the camera up a little bit more. See if that helps. Yeah, okay. So I'm going to keep the orchid in front of me and put the navy behind my work, right here. So now, as I work, and I'm going to even do this in real time. I'm not going to slow it down for you since I'm not showing the stitches. I want to show you how fluid this becomes for me once my yarns are in the right place. So I'm going to knit my I'm going to work 3 double crochets. Hold on. Okay, I'm going to work 3 double crochets in the navy while carrying the orchid underneath my stitches. On my last stitch, I'm going to drop the navy, pick up the orchid. Notice the yarn did not move position. The yarn is still here in the front, and I'm picking up the orchid from the back and holding the navy in front of the stitches as I finish that last stitch to move on to the next 3. And so what's really cool about holding the yarns like this is that they never move, which is why they will never get tangled. And I'm going to zoom in on my hands now again so you can see that movement separate. Now that you see where the yarns are in front of me, I showed you where they are in respect of my body. So now let's zoom in closer. And you can see how I'm moving those yarns without, how I'm changing yarns without moving them, because this is a really, really important tip. Okay, so the navy is in front of my work, which means behind my body, and the orchid's in front of my body, which means behind my work. And I'm going to work 3 stitches in orchid, working around, let's see, working around the navy as I'm doing it. On the last step of the last stitch, I'm dropping the pink, picking up the navy, and replacing the pink in front of the work, so that not only do I finish that stitch off with navy, but now I'm going to work around the pink as I crochet with the navy. And you see the yarns never change sides, they never twist. Okay, so look, there's no twist at all in my yarns. The pink is still in the front and the navy is still in the back. There is no twist at all in my yarns. How amazing is that, right? All right, does anybody have any questions? I'll wait and see if there's any questions now, because I cannot do that and look at the camera at the same time. Kim's working on socks, that's great. Yeah, Lily, I think pretty much you're using the same amount of both yarns. I mean, it'll depend on the pattern. If your pattern is more predominantly one color than the other, yeah, you're going to use more of one than the other. But this one's pretty equally divided between the two colors, so I would say I'll be using about the same amount. I've gone into a second ball in the orchid and about to do the same in navy, but I didn't start with the same size balls, so it's going to be a minimum of 2 balls of Be So Baby yarn per color. But again, with the pattern not done, can't give you more information than that. All I can do is offer you a sneak peek of what's to come and also give you some tips and tricks along the way. Thanks, Edna. But I started this yesterday, so I think I've made some great progress. I did not work on the lover bunnies after we finished the podcast yesterday, so hopefully I'll get some more work done on that today. But yeah, I think I made some pretty decent progress, and that's also because it's double crochet. Double crochet goes a lot quicker than single crochet, just by the nature of the length of the stitches. So I figured that this was a good idea to start with, so I can get a pattern out there as soon as possible so that you guys can follow along. And what else? I don't know, let's see if there's any questions. It is amazing, Sherry, and it's just so incredibly amazing to watch the pattern come to life. I did do this one pretty dangerously, though, I have to admit. And I don't know how, sometimes I don't know how my brain works. I just sat down and started. I just kind of visualized this in my head and pictured this pattern, and I've been doing it without a pattern or a chart. I didn't even draw anything for it. So I think it's kind of amazing that I've just been freestyling and making this, but I won't expect you to do that. I am making notes and know exactly what the pattern is as I'm doing it. And I think that in order for me to create a 3-color pattern, I will need to draw it first. I think this is actually the max capacity for my brain at the moment, maybe when I do more. But 2 colors seem to be really easy to see in my head. And I couldn't quite grasp doing 3 colors without writing a pattern, so. Isn't that weird though? I thought that was strange. I mean, I'm pretty happy with the way it's coming out, considering I didn't plan this at all. It is totally freestyle. Yeah, you know, it comes from doing this for so many years. I've been working full-time in the yarn industry for 15 years. I mean, there's got to be some perks to that, and this seems to be one of them. No, is someone asking again? Yeah, we're making a bag. This is going to be a bag. Now, if you get your yarns tangled, like I wasn't paying attention to which yarn I was picking up when I did, it is very easy to untangle them if you check every couple of color changes. It's when you don't check for, like, I don't know, 10 or 20 color changes, and then you can get quite a tangle on you. But it's all about trying to keep things under control and setting up good habits to start with. So because I'm able to teach you these great tips and tricks and habits before you even start, you'll be much better off. You'll have much better learning curve, I think. All right, I should set this down though and see if you have any questions. Because obviously I can't look down here and see the comments, and they don't, yeah, the comments don't read out loud to me, so I do have to look at the camera to read them. So let's see if there's questions. Hi Sherry, thanks for joining live. Yes, Sherry, it is very easy to learn. It is just, I mean, the stitches are the same as stitches you already know how to do, so it's either all double crochet or all single crochet. So in that respect, it is there are no stitches in this that you haven't done before. It's about manipulating the yarn differently. That's the only difference in tapestry crochet. So this bag will be 100% in plain old double crochet. So in that respect, it is nothing you don't already know how to do. The only difference is that I will be manipulating the yarn in a different way and using multiple yarns at different times. That's it. But as far as stitches go, it is a stitch that you know very, very well. Yeah, I don't know how I've gotten so much done, Thea. I don't know. I guess it goes quick. I think it also goes quick when you're excited about something. So I sat on the couch and tried to watch some of the Voice finale last night. Yes, Thea, I'll be doing a tutorial. As you may already know, I can't release patterns or tutorials until a project is done. So just showing you some tips and tricks and a behind the scenes today. But will not be able to do that until the project is done. So I can tell you how much yarn it takes, so I can tell you all of the instructions. Oh, I don't know if I'll be done in an hour, Ava. And I don't have any time past the podcast this morning to work on it. Not until maybe tonight, but it'd be nice to get it done in a few hours, that's for sure. So for those of you just joining us now, it is a tapestry crochet bag. And if you are just joining now, I highly recommend going back to watch the recorded version of the podcast so you can see some of my beginner tips and tricks on tapestry crochet, with when to change the yarn and how to carry your yarns and how to organize two colors so that they don't get twisted. So we're doing this entire bag in double crochet in Be So Baby yarn in two colors. This is color Orchid Pink and color Navy Blue, and we're also using a size E crochet hook, and it's going to be a minimum of 2 balls per color. I've already, at this point, which is I guess about halfway, I've gone through 1 ball each, so I'm already on the second ball, so I'm not sure if it'll be 2.5 or 3 balls per color. So it'll be somewhere in that range, and this is one of the main reasons why I can't offer you a pattern at this point, because it's not done yet. It is like a hat, but much larger, Ava, that is right. Which contestant from The Voice did I like? I like the tiny little country girl. Shailene, something like that. The one on, I just said the hook size is E4, 3.5 millimeter. I like the little country singer girl because she reminds me of good old-fashioned country music that I loved when I was growing up, loved listening to with my mom and my aunt. We used to be fans of Loretta Lynn, Dolly Parton, and Tanya Tucker, and I love that that little girl sings all of those old country Chevelle, thank you, that she sings all of those old country classics. So she reminds me of some of my favorite music from my childhood, so I love her the most. Which reminds me, there's a new movie on Netflix called Dumplin'. I don't know if anybody has seen it yet, but it has a really great message in it, and it has a Dolly Parton theme. And if anybody is interested in seeing a feel-good movie like that, it is super duper cute. Yeah, a lot of people remember that music when they were growing up too. Yeah, good stuff. I'm a huge Dolly Parton fan. I love her as an artist. I love her as a human being. Just always been a fan of hers. And so to watch a movie that ties in her music through somebody's life, I just thought was so fun, and it reminded me that I don't listen to enough Dolly Parton. And after I watched it, I found some old full concerts on YouTube. So I Googled or searched Dolly Parton full concert on YouTube, and I found like a couple of hour-long concerts to watch, and boy were those fun. Yeah, 9 to 5 was a good song. I like that one too. So many good Dolly songs. I found a concert from 1983 that I watched the other day. It was so cute because like they had concerts from like recently, and then I found an old one, and it was just so fun to see some of the differences and some of the similarities, but just awesome. It's fun. I mean, just to think of how long she's been performing and working. Wow. Melissa had a dog named Dolly. That's cute. Yeah, the water is really pretty today. The waves are cool too. Ah, see, I made a mistake. See that back there? See, we've got a float. In case if anybody didn't know what I meant by floats, this is what happens when you don't work over your yarn. You get these floats on the back, and that's one of the things that you do in other types of, like in tarsia and things like that. That's one of the things that you do in other techniques that you don't see in tapestry crochet, which is what's so cool about tapestry crochet, is that by by stitching over the floats, you end up having this gorgeous reversible fabric, which is making me really want to not line this bag. This is so cool. It looks so. Oh, I just had to unravel 2 stitches. It was no big deal at all. So now now it's at the beginning of the round. I'm gonna pick up the yarn I'm not working on and crochet over it, and you see I covered it up now. Now there's no float. Yeah, if you had seen floats in this bag, you wouldn't see the pattern on both sides, but you can see the pattern on both sides because there are no floats. You're carrying whatever yarn you're not using, you're carrying it when you're not using it. But we are almost out of time, so unless I see any last minute questions here, let's take a, sure, you can line any bag easily, Pamela. I just unraveled 3 stitches, Ava. I didn't unravel the whole bag, just 3 stitches. I was just showing you one tiny thing. Marlin's great, Edna, thanks for asking. So let's take this last minute here to look out on our gorgeous view. Soak in the sounds of these waves one more time and set our intentions for the day. Thanks so much, everyone, for taking time out of your busy day to spend a few minutes here with me. I hope you enjoyed the sunrise, the sound of the waves, the beautiful scenery, chatting with me and everyone else here. Let us make time to create, share, and inspire today and every day. I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye.